is. All right. Hello, Tampon Talk listeners. Welcome to Tampon Talk with Mary. Welcome to the show that only airs once a month. Quick story. Let's see. I think it was weird. I was like, I had a crying fit last night, and I'm not even about to get my period yet. But you know how when you have these crying fits and it's somehow still related. And I checked my Clue app. No plug for Clue, but they're great. And I was like, oh, my period's in 2 days. And I hate this thing about being a woman where you want to say that, you know, I feel these emotions with the full intent, no distractions, whatever. So that people don't do the stereotypical thing where they blame you for being on your period for your radical emotions. But I was alone having this, and I was having this internal conflict. It was bad. Anyway, I don't really necessarily know where I'm going with the story, but the next time I bleed on some furniture, I will let you know. But anyway, enough about my vagina. Let's go to this great girl I met. I say girl, but really woman that I met through Instagram, who has joined us on the show. Her name is Molly from The Real Sex Talk. Hello, Molly.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Molly Grazioso, and I'm the founder of The Real Sex Talk, which is an online platform, basically a blog and a website, which I use to make comprehensive sexual education more accessible. Right now, I'm a high school senior. I'm from New Jersey, and for The Real Sex Talk, I manage the website and the Instagram, and I also oversee all public outreach.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, and I really love what you're doing because, yeah, there is still in the year of 2018 is that we don't have good comprehensive sex education, and the fact that you're so passionate about it adds, you know, being a senior in high school.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely wild. I think some of the statistics are just shocking. Like, only 13 states mandate that the information provided to students be medically accurate. So in many regions in the country, people aren't even understanding and receiving accurate sex education. It's crazy to me.
Oh my God. Like, that's, I guess, I'm not, I'm no expert by any means, but, I think the statistics from, like Mississippi or states where there's like high rates of teen pregnancy is greatly because of this. And it's like,
Yeah.
Like,
in places with higher or like better comprehensive sex education, there are lower STI rates, lower teen pregnancy rates, and I mean there's just a clear correlation. When you have more exposure, health is going to be better.
Yeah, definitely. But let me jump into our next segment because there's absolutely no segue for this. But Tampon Terror. I'll make a jingle for this soon when I figure out how to do that. But I invite my guests to share an embarrassing period story that's happened to them. Do you have any that you'd like to share?
Of course. So I am the person who has far too many period stories for my own good.
Yeah.
But the one I'll share is from 2 years ago. So right now I'm a senior, but 2 years ago when I was a sophomore, I was at lunch, and an older friend of mine who was a junior at the time came up to me, and she explained that she had to tell me something. So I stood up to hear what she had to say, and she told me that another friend of hers had seen me in the hall earlier that day and noticed that I'd bled through my very light gray sweatpants. So at the time, I was worried because I didn't know how long I'd been walking through the halls in visibly bloody pants, but also at the same time, I realized I was standing in the middle of our high school cafeteria, exposing this mistake to every single person in the area. So I had people coming up to me for the rest of the day to ask if I needed a change of pants, because apparently everyone had noticed when I stood up. But luckily my friends who I was sitting with at the time thought this was absolutely hysterical, as I did as well, because I didn't really care that much, and I didn't find it that embarrassing. But yeah, we still joke to this day about how oblivious I am about my own period, especially being someone who cares so much about period equity.
You know, but I love that about just the camaraderie that a period can bring, you know, where like you get offered, there's no other like thing that would happen to a woman where another woman's like, here, take a free pair of pants. Like, it just, like, that's great that we have that. But yeah. And that kind of segues us into our topic, which was talking about the real sex talk. And recently, because we've been planning this interview for like a couple of weeks now, but I wanted to bring up what recently happened to your Instagram account, which was like kind of your primary source, or what you started with the real sex talk, right?
Yeah. So last June, when I started the real sex talk, I began it as an Instagram account, and my goal was basically to share like small tidbits of information through Instagram posts with art and commentary, but primarily I was going to use this Instagram to share the information and to disseminate it to people. So I've been working on this Instagram for the past couple of months. I had posted over 200 posts and like made this really supportive network of people and just like a strong community, which I was really proud of. And yesterday, one of my writers for the Real Sex Talk contacted me, and she was like, where's the Real Sex Talk? It's not on Instagram anymore. I can't access it. You delete it. So naturally, I was really confused. I was in school at the time, and I went onto my Instagram account and realized I couldn't get access to it. I couldn't log in. It told me I was shut out. And when I tried to look at the Real Sex Talk from other Instagram accounts that I maintain, it wasn't there. It just wasn't on Instagram. So I went into my email account that I used to sign up for the Real Sex Talk, and I found an email from Instagram explaining that recent activity on the account had violated one of the community guidelines. So they had deactivated it. And I was really confused because I didn't know which activity they were referring to, because I didn't think anything was out of the ordinary. And also they didn't cite which guideline had been violated. So I still have no idea what I did wrong or happened, but I filled out an appeal form on that email asking them to reconsider their decision, and I heard back this morning that it was denied. So all of the work that I've put into that account for the past few months is essentially gone. Of course, the legacy still lives on, and people know that I created it, and they benefited from the information, but I can't recover those posts, which is really the most devastating, because I worked tirelessly to compile all of that information and to put it into a coherent and aesthetic format. But today I realized that I couldn't spend too much time mourning. I had to get back in it and start over. So I created a new account, and instead of calling it @TheRealSex, which now is a username, I called it @TRST, which is how I've been referring to the Real Sex Talk with my friends all this time, Trist. Mm-hmm. So it's @Trist_official. So that's the new one, and we're going to work on getting it up and running, and I guess it allows me to start over, and there are some good things with that. I definitely want to make my interface or feed more gender neutral. I want to have more informational posts, because I had focused more on informational posts in the beginning of the Real Sex Talk and then transitioned more into art, but I think I definitely want more information there. So I think there are pros and cons, but yeah, definitely pretty devastating.
No, but good on you for like getting that started back up again. And I know, because we had talked about it before actually starting the conversation, but recently a lot of Instagram users have had their accounts hacked. It's been a huge thing where it was even like over 200,000 accounts have been hacked. My boyfriend got shadow banned, and it was just like this. It opens the conversation about censorship, and yeah, which is like exactly what you guys are trying to do, and it stinks that in a format that's so easily accessible for people who need sex ed education, is that the website is not being very helpful to your guys' cause. But we will definitely tag your new account and get Instagram for this BS. So hopefully you guys can really build up your following again. And like you're saying, the legacy, it will, I think, help the account, which is really great.
Yeah.
But what I was interested in too is that since we're on the topic of the real sex talk, is that if you could tell us a little bit, kind of what you were telling me before about what drove you to, I don't want to say drove you, but like what got you to get this going? Like where did your passion come from? Like I think we would really love to know what's keeping you with your drive, and do you continue, or do you want to continue doing this after you graduate?
Mm-hmm. So I was raised Unitarian, which is a really progressive religion, and starting in the 5th grade, my parents forced me to attend a weekly sexual education class at my church. As you would expect, as a 5th grader, I was not too thrilled, because things like gender identity and gender just didn't matter to me at the time. I wasn't uncomfortable talking about those topics. I just really rather be hanging out with my friends. But when I sat through that program, how important sexual education was and how much more informed I was than my peers. So throughout middle school and throughout the beginning of high school, I really noticed that disparity, and I saw the gap between me and my peers widen as we got older, because we at my school don't have sexual education until 11th grade, which is your junior year. So I had a sexual education class in 5th grade and in 8th grade, and I felt like I knew everything at this point. I had learned about sexuality and contraceptives and all these really important topics, like even consent too. But my peers were just so far behind and didn't feel comfortable talking about those topics, didn't have any confidence when it came to sexual relationships. So I realized that we really needed to do something about it. So when I was a junior in high school last year, after I finished my sexual education class, I decided to give my final presentation in my English class. In that speech, I urged my peers to act rather than analyze. It was clear to me that academics across the country all agreed that comprehensive sex ed was completely necessary. Communities that offered this more intensive curriculum had lower STI and teen pregnancy rates, and it just seemed like sexual relationships in those areas were much healthier. But even though there was this overwhelming evidence and agreement in these academic circles, it didn't seem like policymakers, or people for that matter, were doing very much about it. So I told my peers to speak with their family and their friends and ask questions about sexual health and sexuality. And I also urged them to contact our local legislators to advocate for mandatory sexual education, because right now it's not mandated on a federal level. And although we have it mandated in New Jersey, which is where I'm from, we need to have all of our legislators aware that it's an issue elsewhere, so that they can talk with their peers and try to expand the conversation. But after I gave that speech, I went home thinking that I certainly couldn't lecture my peers and not try to affect change myself. I didn't think that'd be fair. So I decided to take action. I created, at the time, @The Real Sex Talk on Instagram, and I began to post those small tidbits of information regarding contraceptives, sexual orientation, and things and I soon found that there was this huge online community that I never knew existed of like-minded individuals who were similarly trying to make sex ed more normal and inclusive and accessible for all people. And after a few months of managing that Instagram, I created our website, and I recruited artists and writers to help produce more content. So today we have a leadership team and over 30 contributors, which is absolutely fantastic. So in terms of the future, I definitely want to continue working on Tryst. I'd like to partner with more feminist organizations. Right now I'm working with Period and Femme Project to distribute menstrual products to menstruators in need. But I'd also like to work more in public health circles, hopefully with things like the UN and other intergovernmental organizations. I think that'd be really cool to have a global reach. But also I'd like to just make things on our website even cooler. So I'm right now designing a merchandise line and trying to make accessories that people can buy, like laptop stickers and pins. And I think that can help spread awareness too. So I'm excited about those things. But yeah, when I go to college, I definitely like to expand it. I think at some point I'll probably hand it down to someone. Not sure who yet, not sure who will want it, but I expect that it will be something that I can give to someone else. And they can carry on the legacy and maybe expand it themselves too.
Wow, and that's what education is really all about, right? Is being able to pass it down to the people who receive it, and then they continue the chain. So that's really, really cool of you to do. And I think that sort of segues me into, if you get a little more, if we can talk a little bit more about it, is that what are some of the current things? Because you mentioned some about like merchandise and stuff on your website. So what are you, talk to us a little bit more about your website. So what are you guys doing to fight against the sex stigma through your articles and things like that?
So on our website, we have a blog and an anonymous question box. So for the blog, we post short articles, and we're really trying to diversify the types of articles we post. Right now, we have a combination of op-eds, news stories, informational pieces, memoirs, and interviews, but we're also open to including whatever our writers and artists can come up with. But we're really trying to make things like intersectionality more than a buzzword and more like a practice. So I'm trying to actively highlight oppressive experiences because I recognize that no one can be silenced if we're going to have reproductive and sexual justice in our society. Yeah. But for our Instagram, we're trying to use artwork, mainly photography, to communicate topics in reproductive health and to expand the conversation. I think right now a lot of people are talking about menstruation, which is amazing. Mm-hmm. When I threw my period party over the summer, I had boys and girls and all different types of people show up. And I think it was great to see that everyone is really coming behind that cause and they're finding common ground. Even if someone doesn't menstruate, they understand the struggle. And I think that's really good. But I think we definitely have a long way to go when it comes to things like consent. That sort of information needs to be disseminated on a much, much larger scale. And I think we also need to have a conversation about sexual assault. We've recently started talking about it, but we need to continue talking about it because we can't be silenced. Like, silence is really destruction in that case.
Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, I mean, the Me Too movement is doing a great job of opening that conversation, but like you're saying, it's the start. It's not the permanent solution to what is supposed to be continual growth in opening up that conversation. Yeah, and that's really great. And I love the fact that you threw a period party. Like, that's amazing.
Yes, our period party was so much fun, actually. And I'm hoping to host another one soon at the end of November. But yeah, I'm a representative for Femme Project, which is based in LA. But they basically created this format that someone can recreate anywhere for a period party. So all you have to do is get friends together, get some paper bags and menstrual products, and you just package them and find a local homeless shelter or place where people in need can access those menstrual products. Because people don't realize, one, how expensive they are, and two, how many people can't afford them.
Definitely.
So I thought it was a great way to get our friends together to open the conversation, but also to help people who desperately need those products.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like, Happy Period kind of does a similar thing where it's like these great drives, and I mean, that even opens a whole conversation about homeless women aren't really treated like people, and there is a certain dignity that comes with being able to access period products, and the fact that all women cannot access them but still need them is a very telling thing that maybe our lawmakers and
absolutely.
The people in charge need to kind of step up and look at that, is that we need to be able to treat a human person with dignity and respect, and that includes being able to access period products. So I commend y'all. Yeah. That is so cool. What a great Pinterest board of a planning of a period party. Like, could you imagine, like, did you guys have a Pinterest board? Like, I would be all over that.
So we didn't have a Pinterest board, but Chloe, my friend, and I, we went all out. We went on Etsy, we were at Party City, and we just had a ball throwing this party because both of us are really into design and aesthetics as well. So we made the part coordinated. We had really cool Marvel balloons, totally a party decoration nerd, but it's totally fine. And yeah, it was great. We had like table sparkles and got so much different food. Yeah, it was just amazing. It was so much fun.
Yes, that's awesome. I want like a period party birthday party where it's just a period party, but it happens to fall on my birthday. It's like you're packing all the you know things for needy bleeders everywhere, but you can also have like a glass of rosé. Like that's the dream. Oh man, that's so cool. So, yeah, okay, so do you quick, because I'm so obsessed with this period party thing real quick, do you have any, quick, like very quick little pointers for anybody that wants to throw a period party, asking for a friend?
Yes, no, so I'm actually about to post an article on the Real Sex Talk, which is titled Period Party Advice, because I definitely think there were things that we learned that we could have done better, and in the future we'll be able to use this advice and the things that we've learned. But I think the biggest one is contacting your organization that you want to help in advance and understanding what they want. So Femme Project has this amazing outline, but it essentially is you packing individual bags for menstruators. But when I contacted the organization that I wanted to help out, they told me that they really needed those individualized packs to be categorized by like the level of bleeding. So if you're a light bleeder, a heavy bleeder, medium, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So that was really helpful information to have in advance, because if we had just dropped off all of those menstrual products after having the period party and never consulted them, we wouldn't have known, and it wouldn't have been as useful. It would have been fun for us, definitely, but it wasn't going to be useful for them. And that's really the point of the period party. Like, of course we want to have fun, but really we're doing a good deed here. So I think reaching out in advance and understanding what the organization needs, that's super important. I also think inviting people and spreading the word to the community. I didn't even realize how many people in the community would want to donate. I think people just don't even realize that period inequity is an issue. So then when you start telling people about it, they're like, oh my gosh, I never even realized that this was an issue. I'd be so happy to donate. So after I had my period party, which really I had only invited my friends to, I had so much feedback from the community and my neighbors saying, I want to donate. So I continued to have a menstrual product drive for almost a month afterwards. And people dropped stuff at my house. And I had people that I had never met before email me asking if they could come and drop stuff off. So I thought that was great. But yeah, definitely telling your community about it and not just sharing it with friends, because people want to help and you'll be able to expand your reach.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's really, really cool. Really cool. So let's real quick. So since the Instagram, let's replug it again. So what's your new Instagram and what's your website so we can follow you on this journey, be at your next period party, do help like learn more about sex ed, like where can we keep up?
Yeah, so our Instagram now is at Trist_official. So Trist is TRST, stands for The Real Sex Talk. And I think that's like a fun shorthand way of saying The Real Sex Talk. I like it. I don't know if everyone else will like it. I hope they do. And my Instagram is at Molly Grazioso, which is no spaces. And my last name is GRAZIOSO. Our website is realsextalk.org. If you're interested in learning more about it or collaborating, that is definitely the place to go. We're always looking for more contributors, and we want to be asked questions. We want to answer questions. So please ask in our anonymous question box. We would love to answer your questions. And if you'd also like to submit art or writing, feel free to DM us on Instagram or use the form on our website. Either works, and we'll get back to you super, super soon.
That's awesome. Great. Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you really want to hit the listeners home with about what you're doing in the Real Sex Talk?
Expanding the conversation is the most important takeaway, because right now in the age of social media, our words do matter, and our words do have the power to influence our policy making, and that is a power so many people throughout the world do not have. It is a privilege, and we need to use that power. So I think talking to friends or family, sharing stuff on Instagram, sharing stuff on Facebook, any social media platform, just making it known that these sorts of issues exist and that we can affect tangible change if we put our minds to it. That's definitely important. I also think that policy is definitely the solution to a lot of these. Many states have a tax on menstrual products, which is just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. So calling up local legislators, understanding what your local policies are, even if they don't affect you, they definitely affect someone else who might not have the same financial security that you do. So looking that up, finding that's really important, but also voting, because that is the easiest way to involve yourself in politics and the easiest way to make your voice heard on a larger scale. So yeah, next month, that's an exciting time. Definitely check out who's running near you and vote your conscience. Vote what's right for you.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Is this your first election? Or your first voting? Or...
Oh my gosh, sadly it is. It's actually not. So I am 17 and I won't be able to vote until next November, which is disappointing, but it's exciting that I'll be able to vote in 2020. Yeah. So for the next presidential election, I will definitely be voting, but I had like the most exciting experience last week. I registered to vote, which I'm so excited about. I cannot wait to vote. But yeah, I'm only pre-registered, so not technically going to be at the polls yet, but you know, over a year in advance it's not too early. I don't think so. No. I'm ready.
That's great. I mean, I think you're definitely ahead of the game versus like everybody else. Like there's people that are my age that are not even registered who have no damn good reason not to be.
Yeah.
So that's great. Good on you. Get ahead on that.
Should go get registered.
Yes.
Super important.
Yes, and it's super easy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's awesome. Great. Yeah, do you mind sticking around after we close the show? I can give you a proper thanks, and yeah, thank you for being on.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, and you, Tampon Talk listener, if you want to get involved in what this phenomenal woman is doing, she plugged all her stuff. If you are not sure where to go, or I can definitely direct you that way. So email me, tampontalkwithmary@gmail.com. Follow our Instagram. We will actively be fighting the fact that she was taken down on Instagram. That's some fresh grade BS. So follow us on Instagram, Tampon Talk W Mary. Our Facebook page, Tampon Talk with Mary, and our Twitter is also the same handle as Instagram for your midnight bitchin'. And then our website is launching soon, so get ready for that. And yeah, so... Well, yeah, thank you, Molly, for being on, and we'll see you next time on Tampon Talk with Mary. Keep on bleeding. You got this, girlfriend, or identifying bleeder. And if you're not a bleeder, have some empathy for a bleeder. And if you do, that's even great. And remember to get your period bleeding vagina to the polls, because that's going to make a lot of change. So that's pretty cool. So, I'm always terrible at ending these shows, but thank you guys for listening, and as always, again, keep on bleeding, and we'll see you next time on Tampon Talk with Mary. Bye!